Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm here with my good friend Mark. Mark, I noticed you walked in today with a very fancy-looking artisan coffee. Is that a new daily habit?
Thanks, Anna. Good to be here. And eagle eyes as always. Yes, it's a salted caramel latte from that new boutique cafe down the street. It cost me about $7, but honestly, it's the highlight of my morning.
$7 every day? Mark, that's nearly $50 a week. Think about how much that adds up to over a year. You could have invested that money or put it toward a vacation.
I knew you'd say that. You're the queen of saving for a rainy day. But if I don't enjoy my morning, the rest of the day feels like a slog. Isn't the whole point of working hard to be able to afford these little luxuries?
To an extent, yes, but there's a fine line between a luxury and frivolous spending. I think we need to talk about where to draw that line.
Okay, let's get into it. You've always been more disciplined than me. What's your philosophy? Are you just trying to become a millionaire by 40, or is there more to it?
It's not about being a miser, Mark. For me, saving money is about financial security and peace of mind. When I see my savings account growing, I feel a sense of relief. If my car breaks down or I lose my job, I won't be stressed. It's about buying my future freedom.
I get that. Security is important, but I feel like some people focus so much on the future that they forget to live in the now. We aren't guaranteed a long life, Anna. What if you save everything and then can't enjoy it later? I've heard stories of people who retire with millions but are too frail to travel.
That's a common argument, but it's a bit of a logical fallacy. Statistically, we are likely to live a long time. I'd rather be a grandmother with a comfortable nest egg than one who is struggling to pay rent because I bought too many lattes in my 20s. Have you ever considered the power of compound interest? Even small amounts saved now turn into huge sums later.
I understand the math, but I struggle with the concept of delayed gratification. If I see a pair of shoes I love, my brain tells me the happiness I get today is worth more than the potential interest I might earn in 20 years. It's a psychological tug of war.
It really is. But think about the opportunity cost. Every time you spend $100 on something you don't need, you're not just losing $100, you're losing the $500 that money could have become if it were invested. Frugality isn't about deprivation, it's about being intentional. It's choosing what you want most over what you want now.
Choosing what you want most over what you want now. That's a deep way to put it. So you're saying your future self is like a person you're trying to look out for.
Exactly. I treat my future self like a best friend. I don't want to leave her with a mess to clean up. I want to leave her with options. When you spend impulsively, you're essentially stealing from your future self to pay for a momentary thrill.
Ouch. When you put it that way, it makes my artisan coffee feel a little like a crime scene. But seriously, doesn't that mindset make you a bit, I don't know, rigid? Do you ever just let go and act on a whim?
Of course I do, but I have a fun fund for that. I budget for my whims. That way, I can be spontaneous without feeling guilty or checking my bank balance in a panic the next day. It's about being the master of your money rather than letting your impulses be the master of you.
You mentioned my coffee earlier. Have you heard of the latte factor? It's the idea that small daily expenses are what ruin our finances. But some financial experts say that's nonsense. They say we should focus on big wins, like negotiating a salary or cutting down on rent, rather than obsessing over a $7 coffee.
I agree with the big wins theory, but I think habits matter. If you have lifestyle creep, where every time you earn more, you spend more, you'll never be wealthy. The $7 coffee is a symptom of a mindset. If you aren't careful with the small stuff, you'll likely be reckless with the big stuff too.
I see it differently. I think we have a limited amount of willpower capital every day. If I spend all my mental energy stressing over whether to buy a muffin or a coffee, I'll be too exhausted to focus on the things that actually move the needle, like asking for a $5,000 raise or switching to a lower interest insurance plan.
That's a fair point. Willpower is a finite resource, but isn't there something to be said for the cumulative effect? If you save $7 a day, that's over $2,500 a year. That's a round-trip ticket to Europe or a significant contribution to an emergency fund. You can't just ignore the math because it feels small.
But look at the return on investment, ROI, of your time, Anna. Spending 3 hours researching how to save $2 on eggs is a waste of a Saturday. Spending 3 hours updating your resume or learning a new skill could result in a massive salary bump. One big win can outweigh 1,000 lattes.
I actually agree with you on the efficiency part. It's definitely more effective to cut a $500 monthly car payment than to skip 5 coffees. However, most people who ignore the lattes also ignore the big wins. They just spend on everything. It's about being conscious of where the money goes, whether it's a $5 bill or a $5,000 check.
So it's not the coffee itself that's the problem. It's the mindless spending. If I consciously decide that the coffee is worth the $7 because it makes my morning productive, that's a strategic choice.
Exactly. But if you're buying it just because you're walking past the shop and you don't even think about it, that's a leak in your financial bucket. You want a bucket with no holes so that when you pour in those big wins, the money actually stays there.
I like that analogy, a bucket with no holes. So the goal is to fix the big leaks first, the rent, the car, the subscriptions, and then decide which of the small leaks are actually worth keeping for our happiness.
Precisely. It's about optimization, not just deprivation. You want to get the most joy per dollar possible. If that coffee gives you more joy than a new pair of socks, buy the coffee and skip the socks. Let's pivot a bit. Even if we agree to spend money, what should we spend it on? I'm a huge advocate for spending on experiences rather than material goods.
I'm with you 100% there. Last year, I spent a significant amount on a trip to Japan. I don't regret a single cent. The memories of the food, the people, and the temples stay with me. If I bought a new designer watch instead, the excitement would have faded in a month.
Exactly. There is scientific research suggesting that the happiness hit from buying an object disappears quickly. It's called hedonic adaptation. Your brain gets used to the new watch and suddenly it's just a watch. But memories actually grow sweeter over time because we tend to edit out the boring parts and remember the highlights.
That's so true. I don't remember the long flight or the sore feet in Tokyo. I just remember the incredible sushi and the neon lights. But there's another side to it, anticipatory utility. I was happy for 3 months before the trip just thinking about it. You can't really get that same long-term excitement from ordering a new gadget online that arrives in 2 days.
Spot on. Plus, material goods come with hidden costs. If you buy a big house or a fancy car, you have to clean it, maintain it, insure it, and worry about it getting scratched. Objects create clutter, both in your physical space and your mind. Experiences are weightless. You carry them in your head and they don't take up any room in your closet.
My closet is definitely full of regret purchases. I have a high-end blender I use twice and a leather jacket that's a bit too tight. Those are tangible reminders of money I could have spent on a weekend getaway or a concert.
We've all been there. The trick is to realize that things are often just a temporary fix for boredom. When you buy a high-quality experience, like a cooking class or a theater ticket, you're investing in your own personal growth and your social connections.
So would you say it's okay to blow your savings on a world tour?
If it's planned. I saved for 2 years for my trip to Italy. I didn't put it on a credit card. That's the difference. I enjoyed the life experience without the debt hangover afterward. If you have to pay interest on a vacation for 3 years after it's over, the stress of the debt will eventually poison the happy memory.
A debt hangover. I love that phrase. It's like the experience is perishable, but the credit card bill is eternal. So the golden rule is spend on the experience, but only with money you actually have.
Precisely. If you can't afford the 5-star hotel, go backpacking. The experience is often about the stories you tell later, and sometimes the disasters, like getting lost in a rainstorm, make for the best stories anyway.
Do you think social media makes it harder for our generation to save? I mean, every time I open Instagram, I see people on yachts or eating at Michelin star restaurants. It feels like everyone is living the high life except for me.
Oh, absolutely. Keeping up with the Joneses has gone digital and global. It's no longer just your neighbor with a slightly nicer lawn, it's the entire world's top 1%. It creates a false sense of what normal life looks like. We are constantly bombarded by a curated reality.
Exactly. You only see the best hits. You don't see the credit card statement that paid for that yacht trip, or the fact that they might be working 3 jobs they hate just to afford that one photo. It's performative consumption, buying things not because you like them, but because you want others to see you having them.
That's a powerful term, and it's a trap because there is no finish line. There will always be someone with a bigger boat or a more expensive watch. If your happiness is tied to being ahead of others, you're on a treadmill that never stops. You're essentially letting strangers on the internet dictate your budget.
It really is lifestyle envy. You see someone's highlight reel and you feel like your life is boring because you're eating leftovers at home, so you go out and spend money you don't have to feel like you're living. I've definitely felt that pressure to check in at a trendy restaurant just so I didn't feel like a hermit.
It's a dangerous cycle. I try to remind myself that true wealth is invisible. It's the money in your brokerage account, your paid off mortgage, and your emergency fund. None of those things look cool in a photo. A screenshot of a high yield savings account isn't going to get 1,000 likes, but it will help you sleep at night.
Check out my 4.5% interest rate, guys. Hashtag blessed. You're right, it's not exactly viral content. But maybe we need more financial transparency among friends. If we talked more openly about our budgets, maybe we wouldn't feel so much pressure to keep up.
I agree. If a friend says, I'd love to see you, but that restaurant is out of my budget this month, I actually respect them more. It shows they have a plan and they aren't easily swayed by social pressure. It gives everyone else in the group permission to be honest about their finances too.
That's a great point. Being the first one to say that's too expensive is actually an act of leadership. It breaks the spell of the social comparison trap.
It really does. Remember, you are the CFO of your own life. You wouldn't let a random person on the street walk into your office and start spending your company's money, so why let an Instagram influencer do it?
What about spending money on self-improvement? I recently signed up for an expensive coding boot camp. My parents thought it was a waste because it was a huge upfront cost, but I see it as an investment.
That's a completely different category, Mark. Spending money to increase your earning potential is one of the smartest moves you can make. In economics, we call that increasing your human capital. That's not spending, it's capital allocation.
Capital allocation. Look at you using the fancy finance terms. But it does feel different. When I buy a TV, the value drops the second I take it out of the box. But with this boot camp, the value, my skill, is something I keep forever.
Exactly. A TV is a depreciating asset, meaning it loses value over time. Education is often an appreciating asset. If you spend $2,000 on a course that helps you get a $10,000 raise in the first year alone, that's a 500% return on your money in the first year. You can't get that kind of yield in the stock market easily.
I also think about health as an investment. I pay for a gym membership and high-quality organic food. It's expensive, but if it prevents a massive medical bill 20 years from now, isn't that saving in a way?
Absolutely. Health is the ultimate foundation. If you don't have your health, your bank balance doesn't matter. It's a form of diversification. You don't just put all your wealth into a bank account, you distribute it into your skills, your physical well-being, and your professional network.
Professional network, that's another one. Sometimes I spend money going to industry conferences or even just buying a nice lunch for a mentor. It feels like enjoying life in the moment, but it's actually building a bridge to future opportunities.
Precisely. The goal is to shift your mindset from what is this costing me today to what is this worth to me tomorrow. If you only focus on the price tag, you might miss the long-term dividends. Frugality shouldn't mean being cheap with your own growth.
So the rule is be stingy with things that lose value, but be generous with things that help you grow.
You've got it. Invest in the machine that makes the money, and that machine is you. Just make sure you're actually using the investment. Buying a book and letting it sit on the shelf is just a purchase. Reading it and applying the lessons is the investment.
Let's talk about FOMO. Last weekend, my friends wanted to go to a music festival. Tickets were $300. I didn't really have the budget, and honestly, I was exhausted from work. But I went anyway because I didn't want to be the only one left out of the group chat photos and the "you had to be there" jokes.
Mark, that's exactly what I'm talking about. $300 is a lot of money for a maybe experience. Did you actually enjoy the music, or were you just there to collect social currency?
To be honest, it was okay. It was crowded, hot, and I spent most of the time looking through my phone screen to record videos I'll probably never watch again. I think I would have had just as much fun and felt much more rested at a backyard BBQ with the same people. But the fear of being the boring friend is real.
It's a huge vulnerability in our decision-making. FOMO is ubiquitous in our culture because we're social creatures. We hate the idea of the tribe moving on without us. But have you ever considered the opposite? Have you heard of JOMO?
JOMO? Is that a new energy drink?
No, it stands for the joy of missing out. It's the peace you feel when you intentionally choose to decline an invitation because you value your time, your energy, and your bank account more than a fleeting social trend. It's about intentionality.
That sounds like a superpower. But how do you deal with the guilt? When the notifications start popping up on your phone and everyone looks like they're having the time of their lives?
You have to realize that those notifications are a distorted lens. People don't post photos of themselves waiting in line for the bathroom or paying $15 for a lukewarm bottle of water. When you embrace JOMO, you aren't missing out, you are choosing in to something else. Maybe you're choosing a quiet night of reading, a productive workout, or just the security of knowing that $300 is still in your pocket.
Choosing in. I like that shift in perspective. So instead of, I can't go because I'm broke, it's, I'm choosing to spend my Saturday recharging so I can kill it at work on Monday.
Exactly. And let's be real. True friends don't care if you miss one festival. If your friendship is based on your physical presence at every expensive event, then you're not paying for memories, you're paying a membership fee for a social circle.
Ouch, that's a tough pill to swallow, but you're right. I think I've been paying a lot of membership fees lately. I need to start being more selective about which clubs I'm actually a part of.
Your bank account will thank you, and honestly, your stress levels will drop too. There is a deep satisfaction in saying no to the noise so you can say yes to what actually matters to you.
So after all this, is there a middle ground? I don't want to be a spendthrift, throwing my money at every shiny object, but I also don't want to be a hermit who only eats lentils and never leaves the house. There has to be a sweet spot between boring and broke.
I think the key is value-based spending. Most people think budgeting is about restriction, saying no to everything. But true financial health is about saying yes to the right things.
Explain that. How do I know what's right?
It starts with an honest audit of your happiness. It means you ruthlessly cut spending on things that don't bring you joy, so you can spend extravagantly on the things that do. For you, it might be that morning coffee and high-quality travel gear. For me, it's premium groceries and a huge collection of books. But I balance that by driving an old car and living in a very modest apartment.
So I don't have to feel guilty about the $7 coffee if I'm saving $200 a month by not having a Netflix, Hulu, and HBO subscription I never watch.
Exactly. That's a perfect example of resource allocation. You are moving money from a low-value area to a high-value area. Most people have financial leaks, money that just disappears on things they don't even care about, like forgotten gym memberships or expensive data plans they don't need.
I definitely have a few of those. But what about the future Mark? How do I make sure middle Mark isn't accidentally screwing him over?
You use the 50-30-20 rule. It's a classic framework. 50% of your income goes to needs, like rent, utilities. 30% goes to wants, like your coffee, your travel, your hobbies. And 20% goes straight to savings and debt repayment.
30% for wants feels like a lot. I thought you were going to say 5%.
Not at all. If you don't give yourself permission to enjoy 30% of your hard-earned money, your lifestyle won't be sustainable. You'll eventually burn out and quit your budget altogether. The goal isn't to be a martyr, it's to be a manager. When you stay within that 30%, you can spend it with zero guilt. No money shaming yourself.
Zero guilt spending. That sounds like a dream. It turns money from a source of anxiety into a tool for a better life.
Precisely. Frugality isn't about how little you can spend, it's about how much value you can get for every dollar. Once you find that balance, you stop worrying about saving versus enjoying because you're doing both at the same time.
I love that. It's like finding the perfect temperature for a bath. Not too cold that you're shivering, and not too hot that you get burned.
Great analogy. And just like a bath, you have to keep checking the temperature. Your values might change. Today it's coffee. In 5 years, it might be a house or a new business. The middle ground is a moving target, but as long as you're conscious of it, you'll stay on track.
Before we wrap up, let's give our listeners some practical advice. If someone wants to start finding this balance today, what should they do?
First, track your expenses for 1 month. Most people have no idea where their money goes. Use an app or a simple spreadsheet.
My tip would be the 24-hour rule. If you see something you want to buy online, put it in the cart and wait 24 hours. Usually the must-have feeling disappears by the next morning.
That's a great one. Also, automate your savings. Set up your bank account to move a certain amount to savings the moment you get paid. If you don't see it, you won't miss it.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation, Anna. I think I'll keep my coffee, but maybe I'll skip the overpriced music festivals next time.
And I might try to be a little less rigid and join you for a coffee once in a while. Life is about balance. You can't take your bank balance with you when you're gone, but you also shouldn't have to work until you're 90 because you spent it all today.
Well said. Thanks for tuning in to Daily English Dialogues, everyone. We hope this helps you with your English and your finances.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next episode.